All right, let's create a route to display all the people. So let's create our new route. It's going to have a path of /people, and its element is going to be, let's call it the people element. All right, of course it's going to crash because like, hey, what's the people element? I don't have that. Let's create a new folder here called pages or routes. You can call it whatever you want. And I'll make a file. I'll make a folder in there, and I'll call it people. And in people, I'll make a file called index.js. Now, you might be more comfortable naming this file people. Often for my individual routes, I'll make a file called index just because it makes the import easier. You can do it in many ways. Constant people. Better use Pascal casing. This is going to be a component, of course. It's going to export default its people component. So my objective for this one is for it to hit my backend point that fetches all the people, right? So a few things we're going to have to do for this, right? Let's return for now. No, let's just fix this so that it's not breaking. This is expecting people. Let's import people, not pointer event, people from /people. Notice it doesn't have to do /index. Accessing index is the default behavior of imports and stuff like that. So, in fact, I can make a little note here. Modules. Actually, I'll call that components. And over here, I'll say modules /packages. All right. So, people. What do we have here? We're returning nothing, and it's expecting some JSX. All right. Use a React fragment. H1 people, save it. All right. By the way, I have autosave on so that every time I type, it's saving and auto refreshing. You may or may not want that. If I refresh, does this error go away? It does. Thank you. All right. So we need to do some fetching. Now, in order for our front end to be able to communicate with our back end, fetch is a local behavior, at least in browsers it is. I know you can use fetch in Node now to access information across a region, but you can't fetch naturally from 3000 to our 8888. In order to do that, we're going to have to add a proxy to point our front end to the back end. So we're going to do that in our package.json of our front end. All right, so it doesn't matter where. I'll put it right at the top. We're going to add a proxy. Its value is going to be another string. Let's make sure we have a comma so it goes to the next line. Otherwise, we're breaking our JSON format. I'm going to grab this URL here. It's going to be HTTP localhost 8888. Right? Let's dump that in our proxy here, and let's get rid of everything after the port number. This will tell React that when you do fetches, that it can access information from a server hosted at this endpoint. This change does not happen in this terminal yet. If you have a live React environment running, you have to restart it so that the environment grabs the information from the package.json. So Command C or Control C, and we will yarn start this again, and now it will point to our backend because of this, at least for fetches rather. This will go away in a moment. Failed to get a five icon? Oh, okay. Well, whatever. I'm not going to grab an icon. Is there an icon in my here? Oh, okay. It's just expecting a link to a five icon. All right. Well, whatever. You can always add a link in your head so that you can change the icon that exists in your one here. The last one I used was a little React symbol, so it looks like I did it nicely. All right, let's close this, and we can close this. So people, we're going to need to make use of a couple of React hooks. We only want the people fetching when it first loads. Not going to worry about that for now. So we're going to use a use effect to fetch on mount, and we're going to want to store the information into a state variable. So let's import use state and use effect from React. Let's create our people variable, set people. You're going to see my React in the background going crazy as I torture it. Initial value, let's make it null. So what we're going to do here, right, is we're going to test if people is a thing, right? If we have people, I mean, people is eventually going to be an array, right? The backend is going to send an array of people, so we're going to be mapping through that. So if we have people, we're going to map through it, and for each person, let's do this a little more thoroughly. So for each person object, it's also going to come with an index. I guess each person name is unique, so we don't need to insert the key of name. Actually, nothing prevented us from inserting duplicate people, so I won't assume that the name is unique. All right, let's return realistically, I guess it should be a list element. We'll add a key of ID, index rather. I know this is a, what's the word? Anti-pattern. In this case, the dimension of people will not change, so it's fine. And over here, in fact, let's just call this name. Let's call it person for now. I think this is going to have a key of name. Wait, each of these is going to have an ID, isn't it? Right, this is going to have person._ID because it's coming from Mongo. So we don't need the index, which means we don't need this extra set of parentheses. And then over here, we're going to put in our JSX expression slot, and we're going to insert the name in there. And it's giving me a bit of flack right now because I'm using a turn array and I don't have a second condition. So over here, we'll just put in, let's say, a paragraph that says loading people. All right, still doesn't like this. All right, let's be really thorough with our syntax then. Okay, so you are going to be in here, and in here we're going to have this. Okay, so now is it not liking? I must be missing a parentheses or something here. Purple parentheses. Yeah, this needs to be parentheses. Okay. So if we have people, which means people have loaded because initial value of people is null, we will map through it, producing an li element for each one. I mean, realistically, I guess we should put an OL here. An ordered list? No, an unordered list. Wrap that around this, and now we need to use a JSX expression slot for this, otherwise it thinks it's content, like vanilla stringed content. And we will be loading people until that happens. So hopefully there's no error, otherwise we're not going to be reporting that. All right, so inside a use effect, right, and only on mount, which means a dependency which is blank, an empty dependency, right, we are going to be fetching to our backend. Now, what was the, I think it was API/people. So we are going to, I'm going to do this with asynchronous functions. So I'm going to actually create an async function here. Constant get people equals async. You don't have to do this. You could, of course, just write it regularly. All right. We're going to get people. I'm just doing this so I can await because I prefer awaiting. Await syntax. Let's make a try with our catch block. Error. Let's console.error. Error. Missed typo. Didn't put this in a block. All right. I guess you can make a variable called loading and like error and all that stuff, but we'll leave it like that for now. And over here, we're going to constant response is equal to await of fetch /API/people, and we are going to constant people is equal to await, and we're going to execute the JSON method of our response. And at this point, I believe we will have, let me just do it here. If I hit people here, my server's not on. Makes sense. All right, let's open up a second server, terminal rather, go up a directory, move into server, and yarn start. Server's on, hit our API people, it hits Mongo, it has a key of people, right? So this will have a key of people. So in fact, I could destructure this, couldn't I? No, I won't do that there. Let's just call this parsed for the parsed response. And let's set people to parsed dot people. All right. I don't have a link, and I'm not executing this function yet. Right? My useEffect is currently creating this function definition. I better execute it, otherwise nothing will happen. Let's go over to our /people now. Boop. /people. Loading people, Bimmy Jimmy. All right. Of course, we could make a form. In fact, I'll do that in the next one, I guess. So we now have our front end connecting to our back end, which is connecting to Mongo. I'll do one more short video just on, I'm going to avoid navigation with links, but I will make one on creating a new person, let's say. All right, be back soon.